Are you ready to add a handmade touch of Christmas magic under your tree this year? This is the easiest crochet Christmas tree skirt pattern ever. Hi, it's Krista at the Secret Yarnery. Today we are making the easiest crochet Christmas tree skirt pattern. It is fast, fun, and festive. Whether you're a total beginner or just want a relaxing festive project, this one is quick, cozy, and completely customizable. The best part? No complicated joining, no counting endless rows, and no stress. Just simple stitches that create a beautiful classic tree skirt in any color combination you love. This pattern has a built-in slit so it wraps neatly around your tree without fuss and has a cute little bows to close. I walk you through step by step, and if you're new to crochet, don't worry, I explain everything in plain English. The fitter size of my skirt is 42 inches across, and for my size skirt, I used 5 balls of worsted weight acrylic, 2 white, 2 red, and a green. And this is just regular size 4. And also for the last row, I used about half a ball of Eyelash Dazzle, just any sort of eyelash yarn, just to finish off with this nice little finished edge. But you can make yours any size, small for a tabletop tree or large for your living room centerpiece. With my size 4 worsted weight acrylic yarn, I also used a 6mm crochet hook. If you're new to crochet, 9 stitch markers really help. You'll also need a pair of scissors and a needle for sewing in your ends. Here are the timestamps. You can jump back into where you left off, and let's get started. So we're going to start by making a slip knot any which way you normally do. We just want to leave a 3 or 4 inch tail. We're going to sew that in with a needle later. Pop that onto your hook, and we're going to chain 22. 1, 2, 3, 21, and 22. Now we have our cute little V's here. We want to roll those to the side. We want to be looking for our back loops. So the first one is right underneath the working yarn, right here. And then there's the second and the third. We're looking for the third. This is where we're going to start our first double crochet, right into that third back loop. So wrap your yarn and slide that back loop onto your hook and make your 1 double crochet. And make 1 double crochet into the next back loop as well, right here. 1 double crochet. And now we're going to alternate 2 double crochets, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 double crochet, all the way along our chain. So into the next back loop, just slide that back loop onto your hook and make 2 double crochets into that stitch or into that chain, that back loop. Into the next stitch, 1 double crochet, that next back loop. We're working into our back loops so it looks really pretty. It keeps those pretty V's for our finished edge up at the top. But if you just work into your chain regular, if you're new to crochet, it's all right. Into the next back loop, 2 double crochets. And into the next back loop, 1 double crochet. You can pause the video and just keep working along. 2 double crochets and then 1 double crochet all the way along, and I will meet you when you get to the end of your chain right over here. When you get to the end of your chain, make sure you go into that very last back loop with your last double crochet. And if you count your stitches, you'll have 29 of these stitches, not including your chain. We're not counting the chain. There's 29, and that will be the center of our Christmas tree skirt, just to work around our tree trunk. So now we're going to start working our way back. So chain 2, 1 and 2, turn your work, And we're going to go into that very same stitch right at the edge of our work, the first stitch, and make 1 double crochet. So our chain counts as our first double crochet, and so that counts as 2 double crochets into the first stitch. And now we're going to make 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches. Just like that. Chain 1, pop a stitch marker onto that chain. If you are an experienced crocheter, you don't need to add these stitch markers, but if you're new, they really help. And then into the next stitch, we're going to do another set. So we're going to start with 2 double crochets into the same stitch. If I'm going too fast or too slow, you can hit the gear on the video right there and slow me down or speed me up. And now we're going to make 2 double crochets, but 1 into each stitch. So the first 2 are together, the last 2 are separate. Chain 1 and pop a stitch marker onto that chain we just made. And now we're going to repeat that again. So 2 double crochets into the first stitch. And then 2 double crochets, but 1 into each stitch. So 1 double crochet and 1 double crochet. Chain 1, pop a stitch marker onto that chain we just made. And now we're going to do the repeats. We're going to repeat that just all the way around. So you can pause the video and do 2 double crochets, and then 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, chain 1. That is the repeat for this row. So 2 double crochets into the first stitch, 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, and then chain 1 and pop a stitch marker. So you can pause the video, keep working along, and I'll meet you when you've worked all the way around and you are back over here where we began. If you'd like to follow along with the written pattern, all of my patterns are available on my website, secretyarnery.com, and all of my patterns are written in plain English, just like I was sitting there right beside you. At the end of your row, we just have our 2 stitches and our chain left. So after your chain 1 and your stitch marker, we're just going to go into that next stitch and just do what we do. So 2 double crochets into the first stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the stitch, and 1 double crochet into the top of the chain. We want to have 2 strands on the top of our hook, like that, and make your last double crochet into the chain. So that is the end of our round, or row 2, and now we're ready to start the repeat. So the next round, or the next row, is what we're going to be doing the whole way through to grow our Christmas tree skirt. So to start row 3, the repeat round, we're doing the same way, so chaining 2, that counts as your first stitch, turning your work, and into that very first stitch, right here, we're going to make 1 double crochet. And now we have 3 double crochets for this round, so we're going to do 1 double crochet into the rest of the stitches until we get to that stitch marker or the chain space. So each round, this is going to grow by 1 stitch. So there we have our 2 double crochets, and then 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet. Chain 1, we don't have to move our stitch marker up. We can still see where it's going to be. So into the next stitch on the other side, 2 double crochets. And then 1 double crochet into each of the rest of the stitches. And every round, or every row, this is going to grow by 1 stitch per section, like that. So chain 1, skip over into the first stitch, 2 double crochets, and then 1 double crochet into each of the rest of the stitches until we reach that chain 1 space or your stitch marker. just like that. So you can pause the video, keep working along, 2 double crochets into the first stitch and 1 double crochet into the rest, and then chaining 1 when you get to your stitch marker or your chain space, and I'll meet you when you get all the way around right over here. When you reach the end of your row, you'll kind of always feel that you have a shorter amount of stitches or you're missing one, but just remember we're always working into the top of our chain at the end of our row. So we're just going to do the same way. So 2 double crochets into the first stitch and 1 double crochet into the rest, including our chain. So for this round, it's 3. So 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, and 1 double crochet. Just make sure you finish in that chain, 2 strands of the chain on the top of your hook, and make your last double crochet, and that'll keep your edge really nice and straight. So that finishes round 3. Now to start round 4, on any row that we're working on, we're going to be doing the exact same thing. So chaining 2, turning your work, 1 double crochet into the first stitch, and then 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way along until you reach that chain space. So for this round or this row, there are 4 double crochets that I have to make, 1 into each stitch, but that is going to grow every row that we do. It's going to grow by 1 every section. When we get to our chain space, chain 1, jump over, and 2 double crochets into that first stitch. 1 and 2. And then 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way along until you reach the next space. So you can pause the video, keep working along, and I'll meet you when you get all the way around and you are right back over here. Just keeping in mind, we always have to work in to the top of that chain. That is where our last stitch is going to go. So same way, 2 double crochets into that first stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the rest, including the chain. And as your skirt grows, you can just kind of go back. You might forget how many stitches you're supposed to do, or you're not sure if that's going to be the right count when you get to this end section. Just go back and count. So we have our 2 double crochets into 1 stitch, and then there's 4 double crochets individually. We want the same in this last section. So we have 3 stitches plus our chain, so that will be our 4 stitches. You can always just check to make sure that you have the correct stitch count. So 1 double crochet into each stitch, and your last double crochet into the chain, you want 2 strands on the top of your hook for your last double crochet. So now you can pause the video and keep working around back and forth, growing your Christmas tree skirt. And when mine's a little bit bigger, I will also be showing you how to change colors. So pause the video, keep working along, and I'll meet you back in a few more rows to change color. To change colors, you just want to finish your row, and we're going to change colors right at the end of our row. So there is my very last stitch. I'm not going to finish my stitch. I'm going to leave those last 2 loops on your hook, just like that. And cut your yarn. You want to leave long enough tails that you can sew in later. And then grab your next color. Hold that tail at the back of your work, just so it doesn't get too loose. And put your new loop of yarn on your hook. You want to leave about a 5 or 6 inch tail. Bring it through, drop your tail. So now you're holding 2 tails at the back of your work. And now you're just going to do your chain. So chain 2, 1 and 2, and turn your work. And now you're just going to use your new yarn just like you were your old yarn. So 1 double crochet into that first stitch, and of course 1 double crochet into each of the rest of the stitches until you reach your chain space. So there is my new color. So that is how you can change colors. If you want to do the same stripes as me, you can get this sheet, this stripe planner, as part of the written pattern on my website. And it'll also have how I changed colors on mine included, if you want to do the exact same. So pause the video, keep working along, growing your Christmas tree skirt until it's the size you want it to be. Depending how big you are going to be making your Christmas tree skirt, you'll see it starts getting a little bit like flat sides and then a point. So if you're making it big, I'll show you how to fix that. So we're always going to start the same way, chain 2, turn your work, and double crochet into the first stitch. So the first section doesn't change, but the rest of the sections, we are not going to put that 2 double crochets into the first stitch. You can put the 2 double crochets anywhere. So maybe in the center to start or anywhere around. You don't want to stack them. You want to kind of stagger them out. It doesn't matter where. So when you get to your second section, we're going to skip this stitch right here, or skip the increase into the first stitch. So let me get over here and I will show you what to do. So I've done my chain 1. I'm ready to work into this first stitch, but I'm just going to do 1 double crochet and a few stitches in before I do 2 double crochets into the same stitch. So now I'm getting closer to the center. We can just do 2 double crochets into 1 stitch. Just like that. And you can go ahead and mark that with a stitch marker if you are new to crochet. Just pop one around the stitch. You don't want to go into the top because we need to crochet up there. But you can go around one of those posts right there. And then that kind of marks where your increase is. And you're going to avoid that the next time around. And then just keep crocheting as usual. So instead of doing 2 double crochets into the first stitch, you're going to do 2 double crochets someplace else. And that is going to make your Christmas tree skirt nice and round. So pause the video and keep working around, and I'll meet you when your Christmas tree skirt is the size you want it to be. How to know how big your Christmas tree is, you want to measure across your Christmas tree. So you want to measure the diameter of your Christmas tree, and your Christmas tree skirt can either be the exact same size or a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, depending on how much yarn you have. So that is the guideline. It depends on the tree. When your skirt is the size you want it to be, for me, I have done 33 rows. So for my last row, I'm going to put on some Eyelash Dazzle, just some fancy eyelash yarn, just to finish off with a little bit of glitz and glam at the very edge of my tree skirt. This is also size 4 worsted weight eyelash yarn. And the good thing about doing it on the last row is it doesn't matter if you can see your stitches afterwards. We're just going into our normal stitches with our eyelash yarn, and then we're finished. So we're going to join our eyelash yarn the same way, just finishing that last double crochet with our new yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in later. So just joining your yarn the same way, we're going to finish that last double crochet with our eyelash yarn. So put a loop on your hook, making sure you leave a long enough tail to sew in later, and just finish that double crochet with your new yarn. Hold both your tails at the back and chain 2. So we're doing the exact same thing as we were with the acrylic yarn, except now we're doing eyelash. So your first double crochet into that very first stitch, same as always. So nothing new. And 1 double crochet into each stitch. And remember, each panel gets another double crochet, an increase. We've already done our increase into the first stitch. So this first panel, we don't need to add anything. Just 1 double crochet into each stitch. When you reach your chain spaces, we're going to make 2 double crochets into the chain space. So that's where we're going to do our increase for our last round. So 2 double crochets into the chain space and 1 double crochet into each stitch. So when you reach your chain space, 2 double crochets into the space and then 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way around until you reach the end of your skirt. Right over here. At the end of your row, just work into the last stitches. and also into our chain. So we're doing everything that we normally were at the end of our rows. The 1 double crochet into that last chain, and chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through, snug that down to secure, and sew in your tails. So now your ends are all sewn in. We are ready to do our bows. Depending how big your Christmas tree skirt is, you want a tie about every 5 inches. So 1, 2, 3. For mine, I'm doing 5 ties. And to do your ties, you want to cut your yarn 6 feet long and fold it in half. So the easy way to do that is make 3-foot loops, if that makes sense. So measure out 3 feet and then fold it back and cut off at the one end. So I did that a bunch of times. Let me move this out of the way so you can see a bit. There we go. And I'm just going to cut these loops on the one side. So that gives me a bunch of 6-foot long pieces of yarn folded in half, 3-foot loops. And then just take a loop. And we're going to start right up here at the top. So insert your hook into the space between those 2 stitches. Just right there. And that's where we're going to put our first tie. So get the loop end of yarn, the loop, and bring it through. Slip stitch with both strands to join. Let me get this skirt out of the way so you can see. There we are. And chain 24. 1, 2, 3. Pull those tails up and through, snug down. And now we're going to sew our tails back down the center, just in one direction, like that. So there's our first tie. Now we want to do the second tie. We want them to be matching, so we're going to do them in pairs. So our first tie, we're going to do the exact same space in between our first stitches, or our first stitch on the other side, and we're going to do the same thing. So grab another loop of yarn. So put that onto your hook. I just have to rotate my work a little bit so it's the right direction for me. Like that. And now chain these 2 strands up, the same number as the other side. Just like that, and pull your hook up and through, snug those down. So now to sew in your tails, thread both of those ends through a needle, and we're just going to poke it back down where the back loops are. Just in the fat part of your hook, and just make sure you don't feel the needle on the front or back. We want to be going through the center of our chain. Just pull them through. Just like that, and then cut them off. So now go ahead and do this every 5 or so inches, 5 or 6 inches down the sides of your tree skirt, making sure that you're lining it up. So you're going into the same row on both sides with your attachment, your ties, just like this. So there I have finished my 10 ties, 5 on each side, and I just spaced mine out onto the first red row after my green, just so I know where they are each on both sides. You can space yours out any which way you want. And now the next step is just sewing in the tails at the end of our ties. So thread both of your tails through your needle, and we're just going to slide or insert our needle back into the fat part of our chain. I'm just going underneath those back loops, about 5 stitches worth, like that. And you want to make sure you can't see the needle on either side. And I don't have too many of my tails poking through my needle. And then bring it through. And you don't want to pull too hard because it'll shrink up the tip of your chain to look a little bit like a lump. Just pull them through nicely and then you can cut them off. And you want to go ahead and do that for all of your ties. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did. I'm waiting for you in that video up there, and stay hooked.